There are moments in history when silence becomes betrayal, when a man must choose between obedience and conscience, between safety and truth. For Edward Snowden, that moment came quietly, without fanfare, inside the sterile corridors of power, where secrets are born and buried. He was not a soldier on the battlefield. He was not a politician seeking glory. He was an ordinary man with extraordinary access and a conscience that refused to sleep. Born in North Carolina in 1983, Snowden grew up believing in the promise of his country, a nation that called itself the land of freedom, the home of justice. As a child, he believed in heroes, in truth, in the power of doing what's right. He carried that belief into adulthood, and like many young Americans after 9/11, he wanted to serve and protect. He joined the system not to fight it, but to defend it. He worked for the CIA, then as a contractor for the NSA. Behind the screens of classified servers, he saw things that were never meant to be seen by the public lines of code that could listen to the world. Programs that could reach into the private lives of millions. The more he learned, the more he felt the ground beneath him crumble. Freedom, he realized, had become a carefully crafted illusion. He watched as the government, in the name of security, built the largest surveillance machine in human history, one that could read your messages, trace your steps, and listen to your most private words, all without a single warrant. Every call, every click, every whisper in the digital wind could be recorded. To those in power, it was protection. To Snowden, it was a quiet, global prison. There was a moment, late one night, when he sat in front of the glowing monitor. The room silent except for the hum of servers. He stared at the code, line after line, and realized this was not defense. This was domination. It wasn't about keeping people safe, it was about control. He knew that if he stayed silent, he would become part of it. And if he spoke, he would lose everything. And yet, he chose to speak. In 2013, with trembling hands and a heart heavy with fear. He collected the classified files that revealed the truth, proof that the NSA had built systems capable of spying on citizens, allies, and even world leaders. He didn't steal for greed or fame or revenge. He did it for one reason, because he believed the people deserved to know. When he left the United States, he knew he would never return. He landed in Hong Kong, carrying secrets that could shake governments. There, in a dimly lit hotel room, he met with journalists Glenn Greenwald and Laura Poitras. The world outside was ordinary, unaware that within those walls, the first words of a new chapter in human history were being written. He sat across from the reporters.com, but pale, his eyes shadowed by sleepless nights. The public needs to decide whether these programs are right or wrong, he said. I'm willing to sacrifice everything because I can't, in good conscience, let the world continue without knowing. And then he pressed send. The first leaks hit the headlines like thunder. The Guardian, the Washington Post. Suddenly, the invisible became visible. The PRISM program, the metadata collection, the spying on global leaders. the listening to ordinary citizens. The illusion of privacy shattered overnight. Governments scrambled, allies demanded explanations, and the world began to ask a question it hadn't dared to before. Who is watching us? To the powerful, Snowden became a traitor. To millions, he became a hero. But heroes rarely live in comfort. Within days, he was hunted, his passport revoked, his name blacklisted. He became a ghost moving through airports, trapped between nations, no longer belonging anywhere. The man who revealed everything was now invisible. He found temporary asylum in Russia. Far from home, isolated and uncertain, he lived in small apartments, away from the light, watching from afar as his life disappeared into headlines. The world debated his name, but few saw the human being behind the controversy, the loneliness, the sacrifice, the quiet moments when he wondered if he'd done the right thing. Yet, even in exile, Snowden never wavered. He spoke through encrypted channels, warning that the war for privacy had only begun. Arguing that you don't care about privacy because you have nothing to hide, he said, is like saying you don't care about free speech because you have nothing to say. He became a symbol not of rebellion, but of responsibility. His story forced the world to look at itself and ask, what is the price of freedom when truth itself is treated as a crime? Years passed, governments promised reforms. Some programs were renamed, others quietly replaced. The surveillance machine, though wounded, continued to evolve, hidden under new layers of legality. The world moved on, but Snowden remained where he was, exiled but unbroken. He married Lindsay Mills, the woman who had once shared his life in secret, now living with him in Russia. Together they tried to build a life out of fragments, a home for the man who no longer had a country. Sometimes, in interviews, his voice carries both calm and sorrow. You can hear it, the weight of what he's seen, the isolation of a man who chose truth over comfort. He paid the price. Freedom for honesty, home for integrity, peace for truth. Yet his message endures. Every time someone locks their phone, encrypts a message, or questions the system that watches without consent, Snowden's shadow is there. Not as a villain, not even as a saint, but as a reminder that one person standing alone can still shake the foundations of power. The story of Edward Snowden is not about secrets or codes. It's about courage. It's about the moment when fear meets conscience and one human being dares to say, no more. In an age where information is weaponized, where truth is buried under layers of lies, he proved that transparency is not a weakness. It's a form of resistance. And resistance always comes with a price. He lost his homeland, but he gained something far greater. The knowledge that he had done what was right, no matter the cost. And maybe that's the real secret of Edward Snowden, not the files he revealed, but the courage to believe that truth, once set free, can never be silenced again.